The club isn't the best place to find a lover, so the bar is where I go. Me and my friends at the table doing shots, drinking fast, and then we talk slow. Come over and start up a conversation with just me, and trust me, I'll give it a chance now.
That's it. That's it, Mike. Thanks so much, man. That's
Try
great.
my best.
Good to see you, bro.
Thanks, you too.
You've been, I've been loving the work. How are you finding the clients to like let you basically build? Like, I feel like you're building now. You
know what? We've been fortunate with the clients that have came our way. We've been able to qualify a lot more. So with being more, what would I say? So the approach on like our social media and our marketing has been more pull the curtains back and show you behind.
Yeah.
As opposed to like if you go on our Instagram and some of our social feeds, it's not like prim and proper and all color coordinated. It's like, no, like grab the camera, follow me in, let's have a conversation about real construction. Once we started taking that angle to marketing, I found that a lot of people connected more with that. It was they want it. I know not everybody's the fan of like the HD experience, but like the HGTV, the TLC, there was a place for that growing up where people sat and they wanted to see how did they take a house and create a home out of it.
Landscape nowadays, right?
It is.
Right.
So
Getting
that's
your message out there.
That's what it was. And it was just being more real. And, you know, sometimes I'll just hand an employee my phone and I'm like, shoot, follow behind me. It's going to be one take. I'll edit it in the background. You know, I want it to be as real and raw as possible. You know, you take out a couple things that are necessary, but once we started taking that, I found that the quality of our clients got better. Yeah, Did you analyze things and look at it like, would you say social is your primary source for leads nowadays? Hard to say. We get a lot of DMs through social. I think inquiries about jobs. I think inquiries, but like our SEO is very strong online. So with our website, at the top of our website, we have a button that says request a quote, and that's directly linked to the CRM that we use. Okay. So when somebody uses request a quote, we can see on our end under the lead opportunities where that lead came from. So a lot of them are actually through our website just because we invest pretty heavily in that space. Well, you want to navigate them to your course, right? Correct. That's all it is. You don't want to let them veer off and just start coming up with a bunch of stuff. You just... And in all fairness, they want the right answers too, to the right questions. Yeah. That's what you're doing. You're starting the process by starting the right questions, and then they get the right answers, and then they're like, okay. And that's what we've always discussed. It's like clients should be looking for 3 or 4 contractors that they want to hire that are all in the same ballpark. And at that point, you're really deciding on character and personality. That's 100%. What you're deciding on. Because I think in all fairness that most contractors, their price point and their image and their branding should all be on a level playing field. And at that point, honestly, it's really about the person and the team that they bring. 100%. And then that's who you hire because you're going to trust them to do the project properly, right? Yeah. And speaking on that topic, so like yesterday, for instance, I was having a conversation with a client. It's a prospect. We've gone through the whole process, and on our side, we've invested time in this client with no investment on their side financially, but we saw really good potential, and they had opened up and challenged the question. They said, at the end of the day, like they had a bad experience with a contractor in the past. They go, how do we know that we're not with you? And I go, it's a fair question. 100%. And that was, it was a raw question. It's like, how do I know that you're also going to have, or you're going to be able to make it through the struggles that construction might provide? And my response was, you don't know that I'm going to do a great job. I'm banking on the investment that I've put forward should showcase my investment into you. But on top of that, allow me to send you referrals from jobs that we have actively going and jobs that we've completed. So in doing that, I did 2 jobs that are active, 2 jobs that are completed jobs with the full breakdown, where they're located, who the clients are, so they can relate. And I ask permission, of course. Yeah. But people want to know is like, what's your ideal client? You know, they want to know, do they fit in with who we deal with? You know, are they the type of people that we do work for? So I felt very confident in my answer. It was like, I give you no reason to trust me other than who I've have done work for, the people that I'm currently working for and the people who I've completed that are of the same caliber, call them, have the conversations with them. These guys are comfortable with telling you exactly, like, trade showed up on time. We were very highly scheduled. Our organization and our communication was spot on. You know, we use the CRM that helps us. So I find that was a great way to combat when somebody just doesn't know. It's the first time meeting me through a phone or a Zoom.
I think the client just wants confidence behind the answering of their inquiries.
Yeah.
That's basically it. If you want a showboat and salesperson they're going to read that and they may not like it, right? But I think if you genuinely, you're a young tradesperson, you're a young contractor getting started on your own, just be honest.
That's it.
I'm hungry. I've got a lot to learn. I've been learning. I've got a solid team. I've got a mix of old and new. I'm constantly going to shows. I'm constantly going online. I'm doing courses. Be honest. They're going to appreciate that a lot more.
That honesty goes everywhere. And that's how we're building that trust, right, Manny? It's I think you did it really well. You know, when you were doing
when I was doing it fine, for the most part. But you get your bumps and bruises as you go along. But that's construction.
Couple broken bones.
And back to the whole thing about the construction industry is the one industry. It's such a big question mark for clients because, like, I always harp on custom. We literally are building something, for the most part, first time.
Yeah.
It's a prototype. It's out of the box and we're designing it and then we're building it, putting it all together. It's not like you buying a car, you buying a piece of clothing or something like that. That's off the rack. And if there's a problem with the car, you contact them and they figure out what the problem is, whether it's mechanically or aesthetically or whatever, and they take care of that. But with construction, it's always a one-off. And then you have that balancing act between the contractor and the client. I understand it's custom. I get it that on paper, it looked great. On visuals, it looked great. But in person, it doesn't give me that warm and fuzzy feeling. So I'm not happy. And then you start having that conversation. And as a good contractor, you want to make them happy. You want to please them. So it's like you're trying to figure out how to balance, well, what's it going to cost me to make them happy? We've already built it. We've already been paid for it. They paid us to do it. But now they want to change it. And then that's where the roller coaster ride starts.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's what we try very hard to lock in what we're doing at the beginning. So there's a lot of time spent at the beginning. Communication, going through the proposal, each and every detail. What are we including in the room? And, you know, somebody's like, oh, well, why did you just add in 3 pendants? What if I have 4? I go, well, I had to have a place setting for what I thought. 2 was too little. I thought 4 was too many, but at least I have a place setting. If you want 4, we can do 4, but you know that you're getting 3. You know, like, those are the type of details, and our proposals are highly detailed in order to paint the picture that they can't necessarily see, because not everybody's visual. Like, we've been in the industry a long time. You can tell me, oh, it's so easy. Oh, you imagine this is, you know, this looks like this, and this is how this is going to integrate in the waterfall. And then they're like, what does that all mean?
They're lost. It's almost
trust
like
me, it's going to look good.
I know. Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time in the proposal portion of it, trying to make sure that we explain and articulate exactly what they're getting, and even do site walkthroughs and try to do that visualization in order to reduce any of the changes throughout. Because in construction, everybody knows that does this industry, inefficiencies how you lose the money and how make money in this industry. Yeah. If you can run an efficient business in construction, it can be very good. It can be a profitable business or company. The inefficiencies just absolutely torch your bottom line. So for us, we don't want to start unless we can start, and please just move off, because we now have the blueprint. Move out of the way and let us complete the job. If there's changes throughout, no problem. We're flexible and malleable with that. But it's like, for the most part, we're trying to not do changes and try to lock all the decisions in before we even put a shovel in the ground. So
what's that feeling like for you, Mike, when you put all that effort in and you don't get the job? And it's like, do you have this second feeling in your head thinking, well, they might call us down the line. There might be another project or something like that. Or do you kind of I used to just disconnect. I was like, okay, fine. I get it. You didn't want me. You went with somebody else. It's totally fine. I basically take that folder and I move it out of the way and it's done. And then I try to refocus on the next one and just put all my effort into that one, right? I've only had one time where a client didn't go with me and they hired somebody else, and then they reached out to me again to question the work that the person that they hired to do.
Like as a consultant?
Yeah. And no, just to get their feedback, my feedback.
Okay.
And I said to them, I'm sorry, in all due respect, You didn't hire me. You chose somebody else, which is totally fine. I had nothing against it. I actually said, good luck with the project. Hope it goes really well. But you don't get me as a resource anymore. I'm actually away from this project. Yeah. I've got nothing to do with it. And they felt offended by that. And I'm like, you don't get the right to quote 3-4 trades or contractors, hire one because that's who you want to go with. And then you question that person when they start doing the work. And now you want to go back to one of the 4 and start asking them, should this be right? Should be that? Like, how?
No, yeah. You haven't paid for that.
I'm not a resource anymore for you, right?
No. So there's 2 approaches on that question. So, Building Dreams is a part of the Home Builders Association locally, so the West End Home Builders Association. Yeah. I'm currently...
How long have you been with them?
About 2 years.
Okay.
I just moved into the co-chairman's seat for the Renovators Council. So now there's a group of us that are in the trades, many of which are in the local area, that are general contractors that do exactly what I do, that we hear their name when we're bidding against them. So that one
you want that.
Right, because we're bidding against people that we know the numbers are going to be close.
Yes.
And then, like you were saying, it's a matter of, do they like your character? Do they feel do you feel trustworthy? And there's other components after that. But when it comes to when we lose a job, there's 2 things that have happened. So one is, anytime I lose a job that I know the person that is going to, and I can back that it was like, this was good competition. It's an okay loss. It's a loss, but it's like, you're still going to get a good renovation. I always wear the bigger hat, and I'll congratulate the homeowner or the owner of the building. And I'll reach out and say, you know what? You made a good choice. Either one was going to be a great choice. I was really looking forward to it, but to be honest, you're not going to be upset by your choice. Congratulations. I wish you luck. Call me if anything comes up. And then I call the contractor, because that happened on one of the jobs. I call the contractor and I congratulate them. I don't want there to be this dark cloud over construction. Like, the competition's going to happen. Just like baseball, you've got an opposing team that's trying to beat you. Yep. But if you happen to lose to them, you still line up. You still line up and you shake hands and you say, good game. So with some of my sporting background, I sort of adapt that. And like, my kids are in sports as well. And it's like, I've just always carried that, congratulate it and be a good loser. If you lose, just be good at it. Like, don't be the guy out there, running your mouth about, no, if they're bad company, I still don't say anything. Yep. It's just not in my character. I don't want to just run people through the mud. They're going to do a good job out of it on their own. So
it was years ago. I'm trying to remember who it was, but they actually referenced, like, they compared tradespeople to athletes.
Okay.
That I guess the process of an athlete and what they go through to get to that level is very similar to a tradesperson wanting to get to the top. Right?
Gotcha.
And I started speaking to them, and I was like, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I can see
that. You do go through a lot of the same hurdles, and I mean, the toolbox is different, so to speak, but the thing is, you're still going through the same thing. I guess it's more of a mental, human kind of thing. You're going through the same things. And that's why I started treating it as it, because we put such athletes on a pedestal, right? Yeah. And I'm like, we don't really do that for contractors. It's almost like there's so few good and there's so many bad that the bad is what gets a spotlight on, right? Which is what I don't like seeing it, because you can't paint that brush, right?
But everybody likes a car crash, right?
It's all rubbernecking, right? Totally.
Everybody likes to talk about, what went wrong or how it could have been improved, but few get the highlight that is well deserved. Yeah. And we're trying to do that. We're trying to do that in many different ways. And that's why I stepped up as a co-chairman when the opportunity came up in the Home Builders Association, because I felt like there was a lot that experience could be added to the other group of people. And we're bringing in, Kim from Sandler that we just ran into in the hallway. Somebody like him, we're going to be reaching out and say, do you want to come for one of our quarterly talks? I think everybody could benefit from this. Now, selfishly, do I want my competition?
He gave me that book. And what I liked about that book, Selling to Homeowners, is there's a different way to sell your services in the geography location of the homeowner than at a retail location or a parent or a community event or a sporting event or something. Mm-hmm. It's different. When you're in the person's home, it's different. You're almost like on their high ground and you're trying to justify your services to them. That's what I liked about that book.
Yeah, you absolutely are.
They painted that really well. They explained it, how to approach that, how to speak to clients that way.
Yeah. How I just dawned on me because you asked me and I couldn't remember how I landed on that book. And it was because through doing research and wanting to improve that skill set, I found you can't teach a kid to ride a bike in a seminar, and that's based off the Sandler system. Yeah. And then I started looking at, is there a local guy representative that does it. And then through that, I found Kim, and then I found Selling to Homeowners. Now, I haven't read that one yet, but I do have that on the docket.
It's convenient for me to be here because when I do bump into him and I see him in his office and he's not on the phone or something, I just like knock on the door and I go in, I got to pick your brain, right?
Wonderful.
So it's kind of nice. Like that's the advantage of this whole show. I get to pick the brain of a lot of people, which like I wish I had this at the start of my construction career because it would have been a lot smoother. But then I wouldn't have learned a lot of the lessons that I've gone through, right?
It's a very expensive college.
Yeah.
The School of Hard Knocks definitely
tuitions always do.
It seems like tuitions always do.
Yeah.
And it's you learn so much. That's also why I've been so passionate about construction in general is, you know, what we build today, like you were saying, is everything is custom. So like whether it's a renovation or a new build, even if that new build is spec build, okay, maybe the elevation of the ground is a little bit different. The conditions underneath the soil, like there's always some sort of problem solving that's required, and that's what keeps the machine running. Is give me a material that I have maybe not too familiar with, but trust me, I'm going to do my research and we're going to do it right. Yeah. And you know we're going to work through it along the way, and we're going to hire the right people, and that excites me when there's new things in the market. You know that's why we go to the shows, right? Yeah. It's like see who's came up with
you want to learn
the newest hammer handle.
Yeah. But you want to take all that knowledge and take it on to the next project.
Absolutely.
Like we all do that, right? We're getting like way ahead of ourselves. I haven't even introduced you, Mike, and it's Valchuk, right?
Valchuk, yes.
Yeah. Mike Valchuk from Building Dreams Contracting. You can find him on IG, of course, under Building Dreams Contracting, and then his website is www.BuildingDreamsInc.ca. You can email him at mike@BuildingDreamsInc.ca. Quick shout out to Sons of Carpentry. I'm wearing his tee today. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. High Tech Concrete Cutting is a leading provider for all concrete scanning, X-ray, cutting, and coring throughout Ontario. They pride themselves in providing highest quality service in a safe manner, on time, and on budget. With the background, knowledge, and support of more than 30 years experience from the owner Dan St. Ange, there is no job that they cannot quote or complete. Their fleet is equipped with top-of-the-line trucks and equipment, which eliminates any uncertainty for downtime and allows our highly skilled crews to complete your project without delays. Choose High Tech Concrete Cutting for your next project and see the difference when dealing with the industry leaders. Find them at www.hightechcutting.ca and on Instagram at hightechconcretecutting. Do you dread the office? Are you spending your personal time on paperwork? Join the club. The good news is there's a solution that isn't hard or overwhelming. With Synced Up's estimating and job tracking software, you can plan for it and hit your profit goals, all while cutting your estimating time by up to 90%. Do you know where your money is going? Are you sure you're even making money? Synced Up will show you exactly where your money is going with its simple budgeting tool, revealing those cash leaks so you can take back control of your business. Do you wonder if all those payroll hours are making you money or costing you money? Synced Up tracks your unbillable labor, helping you optimize for project efficiency and ensuring each job is profitable. At Synced Up, they're here to help contractors thrive, not just survive. Get a budgeting consultation with a Synced Up expert looking over your shoulder to help you optimize your company's budget for free using the link in the show notes. If you love what you see, you can use the TCL discount and get 20% off on your first 6 months. Annual plan is required. Just click on the link in the show notes to book your call with the sales team and mention the TCL podcast. Check out syncedup.com and at syncedup on IG to level up your business. Are you looking for a sustainable and durable real wood solution to elevate your next project? Let me introduce you to the gold standard. Thermery, the world's largest and most trusted manufacturer of thermally modified wood and sauna materials. Their wood is like the superhero version of regular wood, stronger, more stable, and ready to take on whatever Mother Nature throws its way. With a wide range of thermally modified wood products from decking and cladding to sauna and statement walls, when you choose Thermery, you're not just investing in quality, you're investing in the health of our planet too. Join countless architects, designers, builders, and homeowners who have trusted Thermery to bring their vision to life. The best way to fully experience the Thermery difference is to hold the real thing in your hands, so visit their website today at www.thermeryusa.com and also find them on IG at ThermeryUSA. Looking for cutting-edge solutions for your spray foam needs? Look no further than Elastichem Specialty Chemicals. With a remarkable track record spanning over 3 decades, Elastichem stands as an industry-leading supplying contractors across Canada with top-grade closed-cell, open-cell, and specialty foam products and accessories. Experience hassle-free spraying in both summer and winter with Insulthane Extreme. Canada's groundbreaking HFO closed cell product. Time is precious, and we know it. Optimize your efficiency and avoid downtime by choosing the best products with the best technical and customer support. Elevate your spray foam game today with Insulthane Spray Foam products by Elasticam. Give them a try today. Visit their website at www.elasticam.com or give them a call at 1-877-787-2436. Time to sign up for Phil, the free construction marketplace and load tracking app for developers, engineers, and all contractors working in the civil construction industry. One other thing to mention is business and facility listings. Phil has the most complete database of quarries, pits, plants, and depots in Ontario, including all of the big names. So if you're looking for concrete, stone, asphalt, whatever, you'll be able to find it. You can also add your business listing or claim it. It might already be on the map. Sign up for free on the website at www.getphil.app. That's www.getphil.app. You can also search Phil in the App Store. Construction pros, brace yourselves for a revolutionary experience. HTGNA, your ultimate destination for state-of-the-art concrete floor preparation equipment, is about to change the game. Our motto, surface preparation is not just a task, it's our expertise, and your satisfaction is a guarantee. HTGNA isn't your average, it's a commitment. Our line of concrete floor preparation equipment stands tall as the epitome of industry excellence. Ready to take your projects to the next level? Dive into htgnorthamerica.com for a glimpse of innovation. Lock in a demo now and immerse yourself in the HTGNA experience. HTG North America, surface preparation equipment is our expertise, your satisfaction, our guarantee. That's the other good
Don't
thing
wash it in hot.
No. It's always cold. It's always all the contractor stuff is always cold, right? And the only thing I keep forgetting is flipping it inside out. That's what they keep on telling you for a lot of the workwear. I don't know why the inside out part.
Doesn't it still rub against its own material?
That it's in a vat of water and suds and so if you do it inside out, I don't know if it maybe wears the exterior faster.
It cleans the armpits better.
Maybe. I don't know, right? So that's the one thing I keep forgetting how to do it. But yeah, it's always cold, man. Like it doesn't matter why you need it steaming hot, right? But okay, no, but I appreciate that. Thanks so much. But I also love the fact that you haven't been on the show since we've been doing audio ones.
That's correct.
Long time ago. You haven't done a video one, which is amazing. And so it's good to have you in the studio now and finally see you again. You know that I've been following your shit and all the stuff that you've been doing. And I've been impressed. And I get those moments where it's like, I kind of miss being on the site, right? It's like I miss what guys and girls are doing on the sites now, what they're pulling off. And I'm fascinated by the interesting things that are going on. And I love seeing the trend kind of change a bit. Like,
are you talking like in the type of builds?
In the style of builds, mechanically speaking. Like I'm not a huge C-can modular builder, but I'm seeing a lot of companies come out and they're creating versions of that, like Cube. And
like the modern type stuff?
Yeah, like that kind of stuff where it's like they're building portions of it in a warehouse, then they're bringing it onto the site, then they're dropping it off, and then you're trying to marry traditional with the new. And I'm like, I like it because you can start seeing the tradespeople that want to learn more spin the wheels. Because the ones that just want to punch a clock and get the job done, we know who they are.
Yeah.
They won't care about all this new technology that's coming down the pipe. But when I see construction different than what it was like even 10 years ago. And I'm like, I get jazzed about that. I totally get excited about, okay, this is interesting. We get into those fights where it's like, I think the latest big fight is sustainability and passive building.
And like quantity of
in
homes,
respects
right?
of, sorry?
Like the quantity of homes that are even available.
No, it's not even that. I love the fact that you're getting a lot of younger builders wanting to learn that process.
Gotcha.
The problem is, and I'll kind of coordinate this to the 80s and crack cocaine. It's like all the passive material, sustainability material brands are trying to sell all of their catalog as a go and be all kind of source.
Okay.
And what I've learned from speaking to so many sustainability builders, and I know like you guys out west, like me personally, I think Hamilton is doing a lot of interesting things. Guelph, Frontier, like all that, those guys are all doing amazing things, right? But the thing is, what I've learned from speaking to anybody that's perfecting their knowledge on that stuff, there is no one trick pony. You have to use a mix of a bunch of brands' materials to make your home as best when it comes to passive and sustainability.
Yeah.
That's my logic process. And it's no different than like, unfortunately, when we do a kitchen, I know designers and homeowners always want the same brand appliances for everything.
Okay. All right.
But here's my argument.
All right. I'm interested in where you're going with this.
My argument is like, okay, so let's just say you go KitchenAid. Maybe KitchenAid has a killer fridge, but their range sucks or their dishwasher sucks. But for aesthetically purpose, you get everything the exact same.
For sure. We see that
all the time. And I'm like, you know what? I kind of like the old school renos, and I'm going for more of a European style where like the fridge was the fridge, the range was the range.
Buy the best of it.
Yes. And then there was no dishwasher at the time, but it was like a farmhouse kind of sink, cast iron. I look at it more like I want the best of that. But it's hard to juggle that because you want to get aesthetically pleased for the overall look of it.
You want all the handles to look the same. You said KitchenAid, and I thought of that red dot on the handles.
Well, they have that, and the Wolf has that, and like that's, and I get it. That's almost to me a cop out, right? It's like I get it, but I don't have to understand it. I treat it almost like when was the last time you had a work triangle conversation with your clients regarding the kitchen?
I just had the work.
Seriously?
I swear to you, I just had this, and I
can't have that conversation.
So it was actually the work. In this circumstance, it was a work square because it was an aisle. It was a
double sink or something?
What do they call it again? An alley kitchen?
Oh, a galley.
Or a galley kitchen, pardon me. So it was that they wanted to have a gas stovetop, no oven below.
Okay.
Oven, microwave in the cabinets. But because it was galley, we were like, okay, so the triangle doesn't really work. So we're thinking about that. So then on one side, it was stove, sink, dishwasher, and then right in front of it, it was oven, microwave, fridge, and then it created a square. And it was like, does this flow? But like, it's not too often that we have that conversation because it just hasn't came up. But it's funny you said that because I just had that conversation this week.
People are just so unique, right? Like everybody enters their home differently when they come home from work without groceries and they come home from work with groceries. So you need to figure out where dry goods and refrigerated goods, like you need to figure out where everything's going to go.
Like the ergonomics of your house is like,
but that's an individual. That's based on the person. That's based on the family. That's based on the couple.
And their habits.
Habits, right? It's also based on how much do you entertain. Like, what are you going to do for the morning setup? What are you going to do for the evening setup for dinner? What do you do for guests get-togethers?
So what's your shape?
There is no triangle in my opinion.
Okay.
My opinion is like, me personally, I've been seeing a lot of the walk-in refrigerators. Sure.
If you walk-in refrigerator.
Yeah, so you're literally opening up a panel and then you're walking into what would be a pantry, but it's an actual refrigerator. Because you're getting more and more people, I guess, season, rest, age. You're getting a lot of that stuff going on. You can't fit all that in these refrigerators that you're being sold to, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you got to figure out what you got to do. And then also the pantry things. Like, where do we put all these things? And then it's also when you're cooking, how do you handle all this stuff? Like everyone knows
and everything.
Yeah, like me, uppers don't make any sense to me. I get the argument with clients. They're like, "Well, we need space."
Is that a European thing? Like where does
totally
that desire come from?
I totally think every time I'm doom scrolling or whatever, and I'm scrolling through some stuff, and things that catch my eye are always kitchens. And I, for some weird reason lately, I've been noticing the cook area first. So I'm a gas guy, but I'm still interested in some of the induction stuffs. But I noticed the cook area first, so I noticed the range first. I don't think I'm a range top and another place put the oven.
You're not.
I'm not. Okay. I think that's wasted space.
All right.
I get the idea that you don't need to bend over and take the turkey out of and it's really challenging to do that. Yeah. I totally understand that. Once, if you're European, twice, maybe 3 times you do the turkey, right? That's the thing.
But like something heavy from a lower.
Counter. I love counter space, and I love the idea of not having uppers and just having shelves, because then you can always, like I'm sure you do this, you're grabbing the same coffee mug, espresso cup, glass.
There's routine to everything you do when you're living in the home outside of, like you said, what's the outside? It's the hosting people over, having company.
So
otherwise,
your wife, the kids, everybody, they all have their routines. They all grab the same thing. So you're opening up a door, you're grabbing the same one. When it gets washed, you're putting it right back to
closing the door.
So it's like, if it's there, just leave it all completely open, right? And that accessible. And in my opinion, it feels bigger, especially in smaller kitchens. If you get rid of uppers, the kitchen will feel bigger.
Now, what do you do with all the miscellaneous cups that don't match? Now your kitchen's decor becomes the...
I know. And you want those cups, because when guests come over, you're like, here, have this cup that whatever shape it is, right? I would put it in a separate cabinet, maybe closer to the pantry area or something like that, where it's like, okay, these are going to be used when guests are coming over. But as a family, as a unity, that's his, that's hers, that's theirs.
Okay.
That's my thought process. And that's why when I look at these kitchens, I'm like, yeah, I love that. I love that. It makes a lot of sense. I call the refrigerators the caskets of the kitchen. They're always the biggest thing.
They are. Yeah.
They're annoying to just park anywhere you want to park them.
And a lot of food goes there to die.
Exactly. And if you can somehow try to figure out, structurally speaking, which you and I both know, and anybody that knows how to build well, it's easy to make a nook, do a whole header, and just build up a structural point and just shove it in a wall cavity somewhere. So it's not really in the kitchen, but it's in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And so all you got to do is open up the door and access it and get to it. And now it's not a roadblock in your traffic of a kitchen, right?
I see that, yeah.
Dishwashers, I always think that they should be near the sink, of course. I think you choose what right or left depending on how you are ergonomically. So all of a sudden you look at it and you go, I want all the organic and garbage and all this other stuff on one side, and I want the dishwasher on the other. Because what do? You finish dinner, you clear it, and you put it. Some people rinse it.
Yeah.
Right? But then that's what you want to do. So that's at the kitchen.
I see what you mean.
So that's how I start designing. I start paying attention to everybody and how they work. Right? That's what that's the critical question. It's not about hitting, what's the number in work triangle? 26, 27 feet or something like that? Can't remember.
Actually, I don't even know that.
There's a no. I think it's 27.
Is it between points?
So
sink, I didn't know that one.
Sink, cooktop, refrigerator can't be more than 27 feet, I think it is. If you go more than 27 feet, it's going to be uncomfortable to work that triangle.
Gotcha.
Don't quote me on that. I think it's 27.
Quoted you on it.
I think it's 27 because I haven't used it in a while. I learned that in drafting class way back in the 80s, right? And then when I got into construction in late 2009, 2010, like clients were having the work triangle conversation. I wasn't. I was like, what kind of person are you?
You're trying to break the mold.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out, when you come home and you got groceries in hand, do you come through the front door? Do you come through the garage door? Do you come through the side door? I had a discussion when we were building a home, and they wanted to elevate the whole house because they wanted a bigger basement, a taller basement.
Gotcha.
Right? And the first thing I said, how do you like steps? Because your front steps now just went from 2 to like 10. And every day you come home, you're climbing 8 extra steps every day.
Every single day.
And every time you leave and come back, over and over, you move stuff in, you buy groceries, kids grow up and move out, like every day. And they're like, no, we want the basement to be high.
It's like, what's the function of the basement?
That's basically
what the extra height, what are you gaining versus the lifestyle of, maybe whatever it is, a couple times a month you're in the basement doing whatever the activity is, or it's 100% of the day to get in and out of the house, you're wearing and tearing the body.
You need to pay attention to that. And I think what's good about like meeting so many people through the show, living in place is huge now, right? Nobody wants to be carted off to a home. And then here's your box and here's your number. When your ticket's up, we'll call you, right? Yeah. Nobody wants that. Everybody rather stay in their home. Yeah. And I mean, I come from a day and age where it's like we had those really cheesy chair lifts on the staircase where grandma, you know what I'm talking about, right?
I do, yeah.
It's like
they're staying there a long time. They've planned to stay and reduce the stairs.
We are fighting this and that's it. But the thing is, it's like the most horrific looking thing ever. I love that the industry has changed to the point where grab handles nowadays in shower applications don't look like grab handles from yesterday.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love the fact that we could be aware of all that stuff, and we should be aware of all that stuff, right? But as a contractor in their 30s, I guess, they really don't think about it all that much, but I think they're missing opportunity because your client base is growing. You're growing. If you're not aware and not going to, I guess, seminars and learning about aging in place and trying to figure out how to do this, maybe there is a nook somewhere in the house that an elevator can be put in there.
That you're pre-planning for it. I see what you mean. Is like that closet's actually structurally got all of the headers that are necessary, that you just blow out the floor system and now you can stick in something. That's a very smart
When I
way.
started having conversations with the elevator manufacturers and they were giving me the numbers, I was like, that's cheaper than a staircase.
To put one in?
Yeah.
What like we
were talking like this is when I was having conversations, 10 to 15 grand for an elevator, for a 2-person elevator. And I'm like, that's not crazy money when you've got a homeowner that they know in 20 years might require that thing. And it gives them all the more reason to stay put in that place. Like when you get to a certain age, you don't want to let go of that place. And you definitely don't want to go to the box with the waiting room, right? So it's like, if you can figure out in the design, put an elevator in there, Plus, it's just a cool factor for the kids too, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's like, it doesn't take that much space. So you're talking about 4x5 maybe, and you're going straight up and down. You don't need to go, I guess you could design it to go right down to the basement as well.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking is like some of the structural components. So like in the 15,000, would that strictly be, let's just say
would just be the unit itself?
Because a little bit of the added cost.
So I think in total, you're probably closer to 20 grand.
Somewhere around there.
But you do two sets of staircases nowadays. White oak, open tread, open riser.
Yeah, you're already there. But you still need the staircase.
No, by law code, you still need a staircase. The elevator is just an added accessory unit. Right. That's all it is, right? I'm just thinking, are you guys going to stay here? But I think the last few clients that I ever had conversations with, there was never a conversation that this is our forever home. We're going to stay put. This is done. It was never that. It was always like, we're going to be here and enjoy it for 5 years.
Yeah.
And that's where your heart kind of sinks, because you're like going, you're going to put so much effort into this job, and you kind of want it to be for them. Yeah. And then they tell you that, 5-6 years. And you're like, okay, I get it. I understand that.
Whenever I hear that, I often have my mind shift to, okay, well then that probably means they're going to be really scraping at some of the quality items.
That's true. It's a good point.
Because they only need it to last for them personally to look, it needs to be an 8-year product, a 10-year product, because they're going to be out of there before then.
Yeah.
It's got to hold up for them, and then they're out. So I always worry when someone's like, yeah, I'm going to only be here for 5-10 years, 5 years, because we do hear that 5-6 years. It's a short term. It's like, I get the same feeling as you. Is it you're like, you're not really you're not going to enjoy what we're about to put in, because there is a lot of investment into the relationship. We're not a transactional business. We're a relationship business. Yeah. And I find that to be a very important thing. So like at Christmas, we reach out to all of the people that we've previously done work for. Just a simple phone call. Typically we'll buy, last year we did custom cutting boards, for instance, with the Hamilton skyline and our brand on it. Really nice maple cutting boards. Yeah. Went and delivered it to all of our previous clients, as well as the clients that we've just finished work for. So it's like a little touch point like that. It's hey, I hope everything's well. How's everything around the house? Like this could be 3, 4, 5 years. We still like keeping in contact, kind of looking at, the cost benefit to like say cost per click or cost per client is there's a little bit of an investment in that relationship too, that we've got your back. Let us know if anything's gone wrong or if something needs a little fixing after 5-6 years of wear and tear. And if you happen to know anybody that needs a renovation, you can trust me. I'm here. You can see by example that I'm here. It's a
sales tactic without being a sales tactic.
100%, because I'm a relationship person. Yes. I love and cherish the relationships.
They'll use it. I have not used a cutting board that was gifted to me. I've always used it.
I will say I gave my wife a little crap when I was like, look at this beautiful cutting board, and I put it out, and then I leave the room and I come back and she's using it as a cutting board. I was like, what are you doing?
It's a cutting board.
This cutting board's now ruined. I'm like,
no, you got to use it.
It's a bit of a catch, isn't it?
Yeah, you got to use, but that's a nice little touch, right?
Yeah. We were thrilled when we saw the company. They were relatively inexpensive, and we're talking laser engraved, beautiful cutting boards. I'm going to have to get you one now that I know.
No, I totally would love it.
You use your cutting boards?
Yeah, I use them. I use them all the time. I'm not a plastic guy. Like, I'm always chopping stuff up, right?
Not on my cutting board, you're not. Yeah? That is a showpiece.
Hey? I'm going to cut it, and then it's going to get scratched, but it's going to have marks on it, and then I'll show it to you. I go, it's getting used. I've always said that to clients, too. I go, listen, guys, don't bubble wrap the rental. Use the rental. If your kids are not nicking here and there, if they're not scratching, if the dog is not there, like... Use the house. The house is yours. You paid all this money. Use the house. Don't
that's good. I like that. Right? I like that approach. Don't bubble wrap it.
Because we'll come back. Like any good contractor, we'll come back. You want to repaint the room. Probably the time that all the little nicks are going on, you want to repaint it. Yep. The kid might not like that really funky color that they chose when they were younger. Definitely. Now they're going to be a little more mature and they want Chantilly lace. I don't know, right? So it's like it's a funny navigation going on, right, with all that stuff, right? And I remember having a conversation with Jim Carrick recently where I was asking him, did you ever come in to re-reno a reno that you already did? And he goes, yeah, there was one time. He actually did a reno in the 90s, and then he got a call back. Somebody else bought it, and then he walks in, and he's like,
I know this job.
And they were doing an addition, and then he had to gut a bunch of stuff. And I was just asking him, how did that feel? He goes, it felt weird. Because we built it. We did it well. It lasted the family that had it, and then they sold it, and then somebody else came in. wasn't their cup of tea. They wanted to renovate it. So then he got the call because I think through the network, they found out that he's the one that did it.
That makes sense, yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense. So then he came in and I was like, that must be a weird feeling. And I don't think any other contractors today that are experiencing that yet, not probably for another 10 years.
I haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't
But
say
you might
my
walk
experience.
into one project that you've done. And they'll go like, we want to fully gut it. This is all done.
Really? But I spent so much time on that
You got to let it go.
inside corner.
You got to let it go. As simple as
But
that.
you know what? I'll also be excited because, the repeat business.
Yeah.
Somebody's put in a good enough word that if it's 10, 15 years down the road, they're like, you got to use these guys. Like, look at the renos, withstood all of the abuse of home ownership. You got to go to them. We had to have gotten better over that course of time, you'd assume.
But you probably would also, it'd be easy for you to kind of remember what little things that you did to kind of make it better. So then you don't have to fully demolish it, I guess, right? You can be like, let's work with it. Now, it's not like blind. Like today, when you do a reno, you demo something, you're still playing discovery.
Yep.
And you're trying to figure out what was done and what's the surprise.
100%.
What joists have been cut completely and all this. So, and then now you got to fix that. But now with that, oh man, we did it right with LVLs and everything was done structurally and it was perfect. So all we got to do is just gut it out and all new, get rid of the shaker and start from scratch. Simple as that.
I was, my mind went to, when we were just saying that, my mind went to, like if we were to redo, there's a job in Oakville that we did where it was like custom, they used IKEA as the base, custom cabinetry, and then they faced it with like really nice MDF, but it was done in such a manner that it was like a very flat Scandinavian look. And like 3 of the 4 cabinets were pretty much just the MDF on top of it, covering the cabinet entirely.
Okay.
So I wrote a letter and I stuffed it in one of the cabinets and with my phone number and everything on it. And I'm like, I'm waiting for the day, that somebody gives me a call and says, hey, I was doing a renovation. I ripped off this cabinet and I found your letter in there. It was dated and everything. I put a little note in there and I'm like, this is cool. I can hide a note that one day will get discovered.
It will.
Hopefully I still have my phone number. But I've also heard of people, have you ever heard of anybody hiding like a dollar store skeleton in like the blind area of like, blind corner of a kitchen or something?
I've never heard of it, but I don't put it past them.
It was a renovation we did in Ancaster, and the homeowner said when we were doing the demo, he goes, let me know if you find a skeleton. I was like, pardon? And he, red flag. But I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, oh, sometimes contractors put like a little skeleton behind the cabinets so that way when a renovation happens, it's like a fun little plastic surprise where it's like, oh, I don't know. I heard of it. And
but as a contractor, you're opening that up. That's not a fun little surprise. Like
I know.
You get scared at a point,
yeah, it's
right?
like, what is that? Yeah, I don't know. I've heard some.
As long as they don't go as far as wrapping up that skeleton in plastic or whatever and having the mouth gagged or something like that.
Oh, jeez. All right.
I don't need a whole Sicario kind of thing still happening, right?
That'd be a quick little phone call to the police. That would
to
be
the police and
unexpected.
shut it all down, and then they discover this has just got a price tag on it, man. Like, what's going on here?
Didn't you see this little Spirit Halloween tag on there? Come on, man.
Well, I mean, the reason that I wanted to get you back on the show, first of all, was the Baja thing that you did, right?
That's right.
Which, how did that all come about?
So we're a part of a general contractors and construction related coaching company called Breakthrough Academy, and they're out of the west side of Canada. So through that, they used to have what they called a rewards program.
Okay.
Whereas if you refer somebody, you get credits towards whether it's a conference or any of their rewards trips. And they used to have a rewards trip that was to build a house in Mexico for a company. That in this case, it was called Baja Bound. And they would pay for your contribution or your donation based on if you had a referral. But you can only go if you had a referral in that circumstance.
Okay.
So I had always put that on my list. And I know when you were talking to Dan Guest, we were talking about like green lights and the groups that we're a part of. Yeah. And we do a lot of planning. So on my planning list of experiences I wanted to do was, while I'm physically capable and still of great sound mind, I wanted to use the skills I've acquired over the years for better. And so it was always on my list to do this trip. And then last year, for whatever reason, it just didn't happen with Breakthrough Academy. It just wasn't on their list. So I went and intentionally reached out to them and I said, this is what I want to do. Tell me about it. who do I contact? Who do I reach out to? I'm planning on doing this by myself. Nobody's coming with me. Hop on a flight, meet a group of strangers, build a house together for the betterment of.
No idea really what you're getting into.
I've never done it before. Never. I knew nothing. I knew very, very little about it. Okay. So then they connected me with somebody through my network, like through the coaching company. And we did a couple of emails back and forth. I heard, kind of what it would cost in order to get in, like the cost. So they wanted a donation. So however you raise the donation, it was a donation, but that donation went directly towards the overall cost to build the house. So cost of materials, food to put in the fridge when it's done, like a couple of additional things. And I went for it. I put it in the calendar. I was like, when's the next one? And then it was April. The actual one was April 26th to the 29th or somewhere in that bracket because I extended the trip because actually financially it made more sense to add a day than to fly closer to the date because the flights were just expensive. So I just added a day instead. And so I reached out, found out more about it, and then I just was like, yeah, I'm signing up. I told my wife, I was like, look, this is just something that means a lot to me. I want to go out there. I don't know what I'm about to do or what I'm about to experience. You bringing a tool belt?
You bringing anything?
No, they said, so one guy did,
okay,
but they say don't bring one. The company Baja Bound has people that work for them, students that work for them that know how to build these houses because there's a standard house build that they build. It's a 16 by 20, the same construction. They might have one or two different slight variations based on like elevation of where they're building it. But for the most part, they're the same. So it's very systemized. That's how you can build it so quickly in such a short period of time. So I jumped on a flight and headed to San Diego to meet 25 strangers. Never met them before, most of which never met them before.
And they're from Canada, US?
In this case, there's a company called OBO Planning. The owner of OBO Planning and some of her staff did all the organization behind the scenes with Baja Bound. So they collected the money, they did a fundraiser, they did a bunch of things. They organized the vans that'll take us from San Diego into Tijuana and South Ensenada. They arranged all the hotels for good rates for people. So they did a lot of the background work where it was like, hey, just show up, pay the money, and do the thing. Now, I guess I have a great appreciation for alone time. I think that most people's lives, whether you have kids or you don't, but whether you have a good career or business owner or whatever you're doing, I find that most people have and run at a very high vibration of noise and distractions. So like even when you have downtime, you're on your phone. Even when you have downtime, you're watching sports on the television. So there's not that like undisrupted quiet. Mm-hmm. The vibration comes low and it's discovery of who you are when there's nobody influencing that decision. And I have a great appreciation for that amount of time. So when I went to San Diego, there was a group of them that were already there. They showed up the same day I did. I said nothing in the chat group. I didn't want anybody to know I was there. I flew under the radar because I wanted to just be me with no influence of anybody else. So I left, and over the course of the first 2 days, I did about 20 kilometers of foot hiking. So I went and saw La Jolla Cove. I went to, there's a glider's post that's on the top of a cliff, and hiked all down through a bunch of places.
Did you document any of it?
I documented all of it.
But you didn't share any of it?
None of it at that. I haven't yet.
Yeah.
What I did is at the completion of every day, the very next day, I sat and woke up early and gave myself enough time to journal. And I found that the highly detailed journaling meant that I was actually I was running out of time because I was adding so much detail. Because for me, I wanted to be able to open this storyboard of what my experience was in fine detail and be able to have this as call it a story time book that I could read my kids. This is what Daddy did.
Did you write or type?
I wrote. I handwrite. I have a
Even
book.
better.
I prefer handwriting.
Even better,
Typing, it's just it goes to waste in my opinion. I just don't do it that way. I'm a handwriting guy. If I read a book and I see something I like out of a book, I'll highlight, I scribble, I turn the page. But then when I finish a chapter, I stop that chapter and I reflect in a book and I write. Yeah. So I learned that concept.
So you connected really well when you had that extra day that you showed 100%. Up. That you connected really well with the experience that you were about to.
I was prepared mentally for it. Yeah. And then, I'm not alcohol free, but I casually drink. I don't do it much these days, But on that trip, I was like, I don't know these people. I know that it's going to be in Mexico. There's going to be good tequila and cold Coronas, and everybody's going to be fun. And the group I was meeting, almost all of them were in like a BNI group from out west. They knew each other, so they're very comfortable with each other. So for me, I said, when I go, I'm going clean. I want to be straight-minded. I want to be clear. I want to know what I'm doing. I want to provide for the purpose I'm going. And I want to be able to wake up early in the morning and hit the ground running and be my best me. And so for me, it was really important to add that aspect too. So like we would go out for tacos, street tacos, you know, and everybody, big round, big, you know, barrels of drinks while we're in Mexico. He'd hand me a Corona. No, we're not right now. I'll just take a soda water. So I was sharp, and I really gained a great appreciation for that level of awareness, given obviously that I was prepared prior to with just kind of prepping, you know, my preparation for it. And then, so when we left the morning of, I think Friday morning, we hopped in a van, 3 vans full of people that I'm now about to travel with for the next 2.5, 3 hours that I don't know, that we're gonna play the get to know you game. So first thing I do, like I touched on earlier, that I'm a relationships guy. Who wants to be co-pilot? Boom, me. I want to be front seat. Let's go. So then that way, you know, I can navigate. I can chat with the driver, but I can also like set some pace. Hey, you guys want to play the information game? You know, like let's get to know you. Who would you have dinner with, dead or alive, if you could? Those type of things to find out a little bit about people. And we head into Mexico, across the border. Everything was good on the way in. And we went directly to the job site. So we don't see our sleeping arrangements. We don't see anything.
You got a bag and that's it.
I got my duffel bag and that's it. And then, so it's like, okay, go time. We arrive on the job site. The Baja Bound already had their 3 employees or students that were working. They'd already pre-laid out. So when we arrived, slab was already poured. And it's poured very specific because that when the walls go up, the siding comes down over top. So it's very, very well done considering the conditions. Yeah. And then all of the top and bottom plates are already marked out. So they already do that level of prep because they're assuming most people who want to do an experience like this have very little experience. And most people do. So when we went, me and one other were general contractors with a framing background. There were the only 2 people there that had like a framing background, like that type of construction. Okay. So we understood construction process and we ripped through this house. Like it was like a very, very
Everybody else was just sitting back?
No, yeah, absolutely
Well, they were looking like side-eye going, holy.
Can you slow down a little? No, honestly, it was, there was a couple different motivating factors. Okay. So I love being on the tools as well. I don't do it as much these days because it's more organizing and business end of it. So I loved being on the tools, and it was no pneumatic. It's
hammer and nail.
It's a hammer and spike and a pouch that has like one side bag. So you're kind of figuring out what's your orientation. Like you don't even have a tape because the guys have the tape and the chalk line. So when you're trying to they're like, no, all you got to do is assemble and assemble quick. Yeah. So in the first 5 hours from like noon to 5 on day 1, we had almost the entire thing completely framed with a loft, interior walls, all the rafters up, and then almost completely sheeted. We had to sheet it up by the end of that day because we had rain expected.
The first day.
This is day 1, and they had already pre-did the wire. So they had already drilled out because we had electricians, plumbers that were part of the group, but we also had people that were stay-at-home moms. We had people that were real estate agents. We had insurance brokers. We had mortgage brokers. We had a lot of variety of people who said, I want to do something great, but I don't know how to. Like they don't have that formal training. So they're a helpful set of hands. So that's why there's the 3 Baja Bound employees in case you had a whole group who knew nothing about construction. It's like bang these nails in, you know. So we flew the first day. We had already had drywall up on some of the walls and we knew that there was rain coming. So we said at the very minimum, the roof has to be plywooded. So in 5 hours, a 16 by 20 home had already had insulation in the walls. A lot of the electrical was already done. Drywall was installed and the roof and framing was done. Like we smashed.
How many people again?
So 25 went. On day 1, when we arrived, a group separated and went to an orphanage and they went to a crafting center, I believe it was. Okay. Where they did crafts with some local kids and stuff. It was like a woodworking shop, I believe it was. So a group of them did that, and a group stayed back and built.
That's a lot of.
It was so much
the first day.
So the concept
were you exhausted?
No, I I have an
mentally prepared.
I was mentally prepared, but like anybody that's like a close friend of mine just happens to know, for some reason I have this candle that just won't go out. Like I can go for a long period of time without showing signs of exhaustion. And so like I got back, and when we got back to our room that first day, it was like, now you get to see your sleeping arrangement. So it was like, I'd say it's kind of like a boarding house.
Okay.
So I think there was maybe 8 rooms, like 8 bedrooms, call it. And then in each one of those rooms, there was anywhere from like 5 to 8 bunk beds. So then and they're like double bunk beds. It's like, it's not my bed at home.
Yeah.
It's not the comfort of the hotel, but it's a place to rest your head.
You're construction camping.
And then they have a common area that could really accommodate probably 30 people. So like in the evenings, we'd all have dinner. They also had a chef. So our dinners were made for us as a part of like the payments and stuff. Yeah. So meals were prepped for us, and they were spectacular. We're talking real Mexican food made so authentic with all the right flavors, stuff that came from their land. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And that, you have an appreciation for that. It is a little bit rough, right? Like I'm not used to having that sort of lifestyle. You're sitting on couches that are very worn out, but you're having conversations with a community of people that are all doing the same thing, that are all putting forth their efforts and their volunteer time for this greater cause to help out a family that you have no idea who it is. Like
is the family there, or do they show up at some?
The family's there the entire time.
The entire time.
Yeah.
So the family's watching all these people.
The family is watching and crying and thanking us the entire time. And in this case, it was a husband and wife. She was pregnant. She's due in September, and they had a 3-year-old son. So Amir was the 3-year-old son. I've always got a really good connection with children. Like I'm goofy and playful. I got a lot of energy to burn.
Yeah.
So while we're building, I would take a few minutes and this little kid is the cutest little boy, and he's got this tricycle. It's like a beat up tricycle, and he's just having the time of his life, and he's running around and flying on this thing. And I'm looking at the site conditions, and I'm like, there's tie wire, rusty tie wire. There's rebar on the ground. There's things that could cut and infect the kid falls on it.
Yeah.
So, throughout that, we heard one of the motivating factors for the family was Amir got regularly sick. So the conditions that they lived in up until pretty much
unknown caller.
That was supposed to,
don't worry
be silenced. Up until that point, their home life situation was it's dirt. Like what we're on right now would be dirt. Yeah. So it's mud floor, and then they have 4 walls built out of wood with no insulation. That's just plywood, tarps that are wrapped around to try and prevent any of the wind from coming in, and material and dust and rain. And then they have a tin roof, and this is what they've been living with for a long time. And
that's the norm there.
That's the norm there. So they don't know anything better, and Amir was getting sick regularly because of the conditions. So there is a qualifying, they do have to qualify to get the home built by Baja. There's a couple different factors that they take into consideration. Is they don't want to build the home and put this all together only for the homeowner not to be able to survive financially. So they do have to show that they've got enough money, that they have a stable job, that they can save up, and they have to either put a deposit down on the land to show that they've been capable of saving up, or they have to have enough saved up to pay for a long-term lease of the land off somebody. They don't want to see that we've gone and built a house for a family, and then next year when we go build another house and we go visit and they're not there, and that somebody's taking it over. Yeah. That's what they really try to avoid. So they do qualify all of them, and you just hear these sad stories. That's what it is. It's like you hear these stories that we're very much blinded from it, from social media and stuff, because it's not the stuff that you want to watch, right? You don't want to watch that. Yeah. It breaks your heart. So for me, it was like, what can we do? What can we do to help? And I'm super excited to do it next year. My business partner, Grant, from Building Dreams as well, he's like, how do we become the people to organize the people? How do we become that? So
they do it once a year?
No, so it doesn't have to be once a year. So the Baja Bound this year, I think they've built 113 homes is what they said. They're on pace to build 150. They can't find enough people to do them.
To build them. They
want to get to 300, although their waiting list doesn't show it yet. So they've got about 100 and change on waiting list. but they said that they don't have enough people to build them fast enough. They want to build the company to get to 300 homes a year, and they've opened up another, I call it a district in Tecate, I think it's called. Tecate, if I pronounced it right.
Okay.
So Tecate is a little more northeast of Ensenada. So they've opened up another, and they've built about 15 homes there this year already. So they are trying to branch out to areas that need it. So these are they're called working poor. Essentially, they're working full-time jobs and can only afford enough for the very, very minimal, the basics of living to sustain life. So they're the working poor. And the family that we helped, the wife would work the night shift at, it was an ICU medical company where they made medical parts. Husband and wife both worked at the same location. It was convenient, and that's where they worked. Yeah. So the husband would work during the day and the wife would work during the night in order to take care of their kid. So I'm like, what kind of life is that? It's a life that we don't understand,
one goes,
right?
One stays, one
goes, one stays. Hey, honey, see you later.
Yeah.
See you in the morning. You know, it's
but that's just how they're making their short means.
That's how they're making their short means. So it was very touching. And then thinking about day 2. So I had said to the organizer, I said, we smashed that house and we still got lots of work, still tons of work to do. Framing's just one aspect that everybody gets excited about, but there's so much left to do. I said, given that, I was like, I really want to participate in a off-site activity. So I said, do we have anything else coming up? And she's like, yes, we're also visiting in another orphanage. And on the day that we visited it, it's Mexico that has a day called like Children's Day.
Okay. It's
like they celebrate children. And apparently, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody that's seeing this or hearing it, but I was told that throughout Mexico, they do Children's Day where they celebrate children, where it's fun, playful, games. They want children to laugh, and the children look forward to that more than they do Christmas. Like that is the day that they look forward to every year.
In the year?
On April? That one was April 26th, I believe. Okay. April 26th or the 27th when we did it. And so we went to this orphanage and we met, I'm just going to refer back to this so ahead. That way I get the names right. So Jessica Babcock is from Baja Love, and she participates and helps many orphanages. The one that we went to was called God Will Provide in the English translation. I have it written here in Spanish, and I don't think I would do justice, but it's like...
If you want to go ahead, try it.
Guardia Dua Poveria. Yeah, well, that definitely wasn't what I said, but it's supposed to say God will provide the orphanage that we went to. Now, this orphanage, they currently had 27 children. These children come from places of abuse, neglect, and where they're just dropped off, like straight up dropped off. We were told a story that like several days before we had arrived, there was sisters who unfortunately had both between the two had 9 children with one man. Story starts off a little funny. So 2 sisters had 9 children between the 2 of them with one man. Well, the man passed away, we believe, from health conditions. So the women were unable to take care of and support the children. So they gave the children to their parents, which their parents couldn't take care of them. So the parents literally drop all 9 children off, and we don't know how it's going to pan out. We don't know if they abandon them or if they do support them. And the reason I say that is because in this orphanage that we were with, they encourage the parents stay in their lives. So one of the kids that sang to us and played the guitar, he'd been there since 8 months old, and he was now about 16. But he has a great relationship with his mother. His mother just can't support him. She can't financially support having a child. So she's still in his life. So they encourage that the parents stay in, even if they can't be what we know as parents, as that you live with them and that we support them. That's not the case out there. So this orphanage does.
And there's only so many spots at the orphanage as well, too, right?
They can do up to 50 children at this orphanage. So what they find is some of the farm, like the working farm people, is they have to choose between like 3 and 4-year-old children to either leave them at home while they go out for the day and farm and fend for themselves, or they drop them off at the orphanage where they're under good care, and then they come and pick them up and then they go. So there's services like that, but it's just eye-opening. It really is. And these kids, it was adults versus kids, which we really tried to dominate them, but they think they were practicing these games.
Yeah.
But we did a relay race, and it was like a really well thought out relay race, and it was fun. Obviously, like for the 20 marshmallows we had to pass, they did 10, and then we stacked dice where it had to be in numerical order, and then we did like bag toss, so where we did 6 in the hole, they did 2. Throw a dart, potato race, carry an egg. So there was this cool relay race. It was adults versus the kids. So it was a very fun day. And then they served us food. Then we went to their on the compound. They have a park, like a nice park. So that, again, I've got all this energy. So I'm like, which kids am I playing tag with? All right, boop, you're it. Let's go. And we just, boop, you're it. And we're running around and we're trying to make their day. Now, there was some interesting emotion that I felt while I was there. And it was really hard for me I wanted to be able to share my experience. But what that meant was most of the time, the best way to share is through image and through video. And every time I was there and I would take out my phone to videotape something that I was like, oh, this would be fun. Something inside me didn't like what I was feeling by videotaping with poverty, right? Like poor individuals. And I kept every time, it happened every time that I pull it out. Like if I wanted to take a picture of the homeowners we were building for, hey, come over here, take a picture. It's like, I just kept feeling like if I was on the other side of the camera, am I making them feel like this is a sideshow, that they're a part of this, production? And
you almost wanted to be invisible. You wanted to be there and contribute.
Correct.
But you were never there.
And then how do I share the story? Because I wanted to be able to share the story on the other end. So I was very tossed up, and it really played on my heartstrings when I would take it out. And I look at some of the pictures that I took. Oh, I felt something there. I look at some of the pictures that I took with some of the children that we were playing with. They took my hat off, they take my glasses off, and they run around and they put them on. And then I got this one where there's 3 of the kids that we were playing with, and they're on my back and everything. And I was like, I gotta get this. It's just cute. One's wearing my glasses, the other one's ripped my hat off and stuff. So I took a picture, and that picture to me felt so right. And every time I look at it, it feels so right because there was a genuine smile that I truly made a difference in those children's day, at least. Mm-hmm. Even at that day, I was able to distract them from what they might personally be going through. And that was what's making me feel kind of emotional right now about it. It was
the reason
special.
Why you were there.
There was a reason why I was there.
Yeah.
And it was there was some interesting emotion that was behind the whole experience. And I'm going to do it again, and then I'm going to visit the family. So that's what a lot of people do. There's a couple people that we were with that this was their 4th, 5th, 6th build. And while we were there, they would hop on in the van, and they would go visit the families that they had already built for. And they would go with a bag of groceries. They'd go with some supplies. They'd go with toys for the kids. And it was like, hey, we didn't forget about you. This isn't one and done. This is we're now a part of your story. We're trying to help you out of this and give you a comfortable living for what it's worth. So yeah, it was quite the experience all around.
Was it when I'm just assuming it exceeded everything that you were going to experience.
Yeah.
Because you went in thinking one thing because you're already described. It's described to you of what it's all about and what you might experience. But I'm pretty sure it's nowhere near what that experience was told about.
No, you can never anticipate the emotions that you will feel and go through until you see and you touch and you experience what the life is like for them. And you just, because we've got, look where we live. Yeah. It is not what I just went into. So I'm only used to what I'm used to. And that's why I wanted to go somewhere that I'm not used to. I wanted to help somebody that can still find joy in the day-to-day that has relatively nothing. Right? That's a special message when you've got a child that's 3 booting around in the dirt on his tricycle, laughing, having a time of his life. And, when I was there, there was a moment behind the house. So they had a flower bed, they got a little flower bed that they work on and stuff. So it means a lot to them. That's, something they take care of. And I go behind the house and mom, dad, and Amir's in the bushes, and they're just standing. And Amir's in the bushes, and these little white flowers, nice thick bush, and he keeps opening them and sticking his head in, opening them and sticking his head. I was like, that seems like fun. I'm going to do the same thing. And I got down on my knees and opened them and stick my head. And he just like looks at me. And I was like, I look back at him. I was like, well, open it. I was like, I don't know. And, and I'm visual because I can't speak Spanish. I can't understand it. But what I can speak is love. I can speak the language of love and care. So what I did was I wanted to build a connection with somebody that I couldn't have a conversation with, but I could through a different outlet. So I was doing that, and then I was picking flowers, and I was like, doop, 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 and he'd come over and he'd grab the top of it, and then he'd stand back and I'd go, oh no, and he would just burst out in these laughs that I remember from my children, because my children now are, the youngest is 8, almost 9, and he's 3. So I just remembered what that was like for him to just laugh.
Yeah.
Just experience. And it was, it's just hard to describe. It's unless you go and do something like that.
You got to experience it. You got to go
You have to experience it.
Who's backing all how long is the whole Baja Bound thing how long has it been going on for?
Ooh, good question. I do in your description, I'll give you a couple of the links because I don't actually know the duration of time that they've been around.
But there's got to be some companies you guys giving money and being there and everybody's contributing, that doesn't really cover everything. It can't cover all of it, or does it?
So the way that they've structured it is if you wanted to participate as a group, it's $8,500 USD. However, you either raise the money or if you get a group of people to just split the costs and contribute. And that's what we did. We were told this is how much money your portion was going to be.
Okay.
You either pay or you donate or you GoFundMe, however you get it. And then you put that money in, that goes into the pool to provide all the materials and all of that. But there are some...
For one house?
For one home. It was $8,500 USD. And then there's add-ons after that the company can do, which OBO Planning did an awesome job at it. So they raised about $9,500 more dollars, partnering up with, they were the Barley, I want to be able to say this correctly. So they were, who was it that raised it? I would like to make sure that I give them a proper shout out. It was the Barley Merchant in Langley, BC. Barley Merchant, the owners I met, salt of the earth, amazing individuals. Yeah. They shut their whole restaurant down, did a silent auction, and then anybody who showed up, you'd buy tickets, and then you'd get a meal and a beer, and then a part of the proceeds also went. So they raised $9,500 more. And they didn't want to take all that money and then pay for everybody's experience. They said everybody's gotten told what they got to owe to come into this experience as your share. The $9,500 is going to outreach and make this experience even greater for everyone. So they provided, a couple. I think it was like $700 they gave in cash to one of the orphanages. They did that to a couple others. They gave $1,000 to the previous build from last year. They filled their fridge. The build we were doing this year, typically with the $8,500, it's only the build, and then when you hand the house, it's empty. So it's still a home. It's still a house. It's not necessarily a home yet, and then they have to take their belongings and they furnish it. So with the extra money, they were able to do a fridge, like standing fridge. They were able to do a solar panel on the top, so they got free electricity. They were able to get 3 beds, all the bedding. They went to like a consignment in the local area. They bought dining room furniture. They bought living room furniture. They bought wall art. They bought clothes and toys for the kid.
With the
$9,500, and they spread the love. And then when we gave them the house, filled the fridge with all sorts of stuff because they don't have a way to refrigerate, right? They previously didn't.
Yeah.
So this was a big step for them. It's like, here's food that you can keep for 3 days, as opposed to having to constantly go out and get. So there's like add-ons that can come that you can add to their experience. So many of the people that had done this multiple times, they said this was the first year that they handed a complete house that is truly generationally going to change the lives of the people that we just handed over, because now they walked into a turnkey home, and in the previous years it wasn't turnkey like that.
It was fully done, furnished,
correct,
ready to go.
Yeah,
family will grow.
Yeah,
and then probably the kids would stay.
Yeah,
which
and
is
then
great.
they made us. It's funny because I'm trying to be careful. Like the last thing I want to do is drink water that was contaminated or eat something that's going to get me sick and kind of ruin the experience. So I was very careful with where I was eating and how I was eating and washing, sanitization. So on the last day, the owner said they wanted to do something great for our team to show their appreciation. So they wanted to make us pozole, I think I'm saying it right, pozole soup.
Okay.
So it's white corn and pork soup. And it was like, oh, that sounds like a lovely experience, right? And then, when you're walking around and you're seeing the current conditions of where the food's prepped, you start being like, oh, shoot. Oh, man, I don't know about this. Where was the pork before it made it in? Was it refrigerated? How was it prepped? Was it washed? So, for me, I was starting to have these I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm going to eat this soup. And then someone's like, you're eating the soup, right? This is literally going to Thanksgiving dinner with your family and saying no thanks after you just spent, how much time prepping for everything. This means the world to them. You're eating the soup. And I was like, you know what? Why would I have even questioned it in the first place? So I'm like, I'm going to happily eat the soup, and whatever happens, happens, because we're all going to get it, right? So then, we sat there. They made all the fixings. Their jalapenos out there are just on a different level too. Spice that was ruined me.
I'm assuming the avocados, everything's just on a different level.
It was so good. Yeah. So and there was avocados that you chop up and put in the soup and everything. So it was actually a delicious soup, and they cooked it from the night prior, which is not standard, because they really wanted to make sure nobody was going to get sick. So they took care into it. But when you saw that where it was literally, it was 3 cinder block walls, open air above, 2 cinder blocks with a fire underneath and a pot that they cooked. And he would wake up in the night and he would put a little bit more fire on it to make sure that stayed heated for us and cooked. And that's what he did. So it was like, how dare you not eat this regardless of what.
Was the soup good?
The soup was actually good.
Yeah.
I got to say, the soup was well flavored and it was good. I've never had it before, so I didn't have anything to compare it to. It had the right amount of salt. It was the pork was actually really well done. But in the back of my head, I was like, where was the water from, right? I was a little nervous.
But you can't help but think that because of where you are
100%.
And where they normally live and how they, I guess, get what little food they can get.
Correct.
And there is no best before date on anything.
Nope.
That's not even a part of the conversation. That's the sad thing. And the really sad thing is that it's 2024.
Yeah.
And this is going on, right? Which it shouldn't be going on, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, now you got the organizations like these guys that are organized and getting bigger and bigger, which is amazing.
They are.
And you came back, and obviously you're the first one that went through your circle of friends, and I'm sure that you probably have a bunch.
And that's why, for me, it was important to be able to find a way that I could spread the message about this that's going on and, allow people to understand you don't have to be in the trades to participate. You absolutely don't. You just you have to have a willingness to help. That's all that it's going to take. You have a willingness to help, we can use you. You can paint the siding, you can go to an orphanage, you can make a child smile, we can use your help. And that's what I wanted to be able to speak to, because people will see me in my inner circle and be like, oh, it's because you got a carpentry background, you own a construction company. It's like, absolutely not.
You guys were faster, that's all.
Yeah, way faster. No, but that's why I reached out to you. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I got a feeling that you would love the story.
I totally would love it. That's why I was in a heartbeat. I said, for sure, man.
The moment I sent it to you, you're like, I would love to do something along those lines, be happy to have you. And it was, that was great that you have a platform that something like this can be shared with people.
Because it's important. I mean, what you experience, and it makes me want to experience it as well too, right? I'm not going to be as fast as you, but no, I totally can get a sense of what you experienced because of this, right? And obviously, it's probably made you a different person today for that, right? And that's important. And I think that's what a lot of construction, we get into a pattern where in the beginning, it's all sunshine and rainbows. Yeah. Everything's great. We're going to build a business. We're going to build a brand. We're going to grow. But you get these plateaus where you start, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And I think that this experience, you went down there, you found several whys for a lot of things. And you looked at it and you're like, here's a bunch of things. So when you come back here and maybe something negative is happening, it's not really that big of a deal.
It's not as bad as it could be.
Yeah.
You can be coming back more patient. Yeah. That's a big one is, there's a lot of life lessons that have came from it. Again, I touch on having young children, they can be challenging, and, it's like, how big is the challenge really? How bad is that thing? Or if they've dirtied the house or ran through it, they were so happy and they ran in and they're muddy and they went from one end of the house to the other. It's like, I have an air conditioned house and I've got a broom and I got a mop. And it's not ideal. And it might have put a wrench in the day's plan or whatever, but it's like, my kids are filled with joy if I'm not so stressed through the roof, it's like, how you said it is like, use the house. Don't bubble wrap the house. Yeah. Use the home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I look at those little components as well as how do I bring in my experience there with lack of, and use that experience to help my family and other families. And
how were the conversations with the other people? Because I'm sure that a lot of people, once they got a sense of, I guess, the skill level, for lack of a better term, they started maybe poking and prodding, just trying to figure out more about you as an individual.
Yeah.
And you weren't really doing the same with everybody else? You were kind of just keeping it level? Or were you diving into everybody?
I was diving into everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've got some. I got some friendships that have came from it. Inherently, when you got 25 individuals in a place doing a thing,
there's time to talk. And
there's time to talk. Yeah. There's lots of downtime. I was roomed up with a couple guys, and though I've contacted those guys afterwards. So I gained a relationship with most, but I gained a closer relationship with a few. So through that, we learned a bit about one another. Dove into a family. We had even we had some spiritual talks. We went 2 of the nights we were there, because we were right on the water. I'm into hydrotherapy. Like, that's something that's important to me. So the idea was does anybody want to go in the water? And it was cold, but I will say it was actually cold in April. It was chilly cold. One half day I wore shorts. The rest I was wearing a long sleeve shirt and pants. So the water was cold, and it was does anybody want to do this? And then you get a couple people that are just as crazy as you. And then you're like, hey, what's your story? And then you start diving in a little bit deeper about who these individuals are, what their life experience is. And it's very interesting when you start really connecting with people and seeing that whether they live in, BC or you live here in Ontario, most of us are not that different from one another. Same. If you've got a good heart and you're a good character, most of us are going through the same sort of struggles. Same sort of things. We have the same intentions to do well, provide for others. And those are my people. Those are the people I want to be surrounded around. So I keep connecting with them, and I allow myself to be vulnerable in hopes that I'll connect better with somebody, but also allow them to see, hey, you know what? This guy's kind of put his neck on the line. Maybe they'll share something that they were really looking for somebody to share with, but they never shared it with anybody. Yeah. And that stems into a whole other mental health conversation. That would be another
because it totally would contribute and help you.
Correct.
If you are going through questionable things in your life, right? If something's going on, or you could be having the worst or whatever. But how much time did you actually commit to all this? I mean, from the time that you were inquiring about it, planning it, and then coming back and just decompressing from it, how much of your time was consumed by this?
So I'd say the experience was 6 days.
Yeah.
Prior to, the accumulation of many days, little bit of time across many days, across several months.
Just questions and inquiries.
And then again, because OBO took the lead on the whole organization of the experience, I sort of just signed up, showed up, paid what I needed to, and did the thing. So when I came out of this and I contacted you, I want to make sure that I had all my ducks in a row and I understood what happened. How does somebody get a house? What happens after they get a house? What are the costs? What are the actual costs? Who did we contact when we went to the orphanage? What was that orphanage? So I listed a big list of questions, and I sent it out to all the people that I knew that were participating in the organization of it. And I said, can you guys answer all these for me? Because I truthfully would like to know, so I can then be educated on it and pass that on. Yeah. And if we wanted to run it ourselves, now I have all the contacts. So everybody was so good about it. I was getting emails constantly. Oh, you know what? I don't have the answers for these, but I filled it out to the best of my ability. But here, so-and-so knows this. Hey, so-and-so, Mike was just on this trip. Can you help fill out the blanks where it's missing? And everybody was great with it. That's why I printed this up.
Yeah, because I
wanted to make sure. But you have some of the links that I sent as well.
Yeah, and I'm totally going to use any of those, right? So I want to put them out there because I want people to inquire about this and check it out. And I guess my point with the question was it wasn't a lot of time. It was probably less than a standard vacation that you would have taken.
Yeah.
And I mean, vacations are great. We need to have those breaks. But sometimes vacations are still consuming.
Yeah.
Right? Where this, I don't think, was a consumption.
No, and it doesn't have to be this, the 6 days that I had actually went away from. It doesn't have to be that long either.
Yeah.
It was just due to financially, it made sense to add a day, then fly out a day earlier. So it would be even less if somebody flew in the night before they drove over the border. So it could be even less of a commitment to people that require that for their lifestyle. So yeah, it wasn't a ton. It was just, there was a why behind it. So it didn't really ever feel like tracking. It was like I was excited when I got the emails. I was excited to pay. I was excited to meet people. It was like,
and the date that was coming that you were going to start the travel. Yeah. Like you couldn't. It was your Christmas at that point.
It was,
right?
yeah.
Right?
And I had a woman. One of the nights we were in the common room, I had a woman. She's like, I gotta ask. She's like, do you always just hop on a flight and fly to San Diego and meet 25 people you don't know? I was like, nope. But this is the first. But I just have confidence in my ability to connect. That's really what it is. It's like, I know who I am. And I spend the time to discover who I am and what I bring to the table. And I think that's important. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm going to get along great with most people. And if I don't, it's probably not a me thing. So I was...
which is going to happen. You can't expect it to be perfect. Like, not everybody's going to get along really well. Mm-hmm. But as long as, I guess, the children, they're seeing everything and what they're experiencing, and it's a better, I guess, light. Yeah. For them, right?
Yeah.
Is what happens. And then if you can help that family, then you help another family, and it keeps on going from that point. I mean, I love that the whole program's got this ambition to get 300 and keep on growing from there, maybe even get to 1,000 in a few years.
You know what?
It's amazing.
They just set the benchmark at 300 as their next benchmark. That's really what it is. And then, like you're saying, what's the next one after? Once you get to 300, it's like, okay, we're here. Systems are in place. People know about it. What's the next benchmark? How do we really spread the love? And yeah, with them having the enough people right now on waiting lists, it really just comes down to the ability to build them.
Did you ever, like, I remember early on in my career, I inquired about Habitat. The problem was that the ones that were near me, so to speak, driving distance, a couple of hours, the waiting list was months and months and months and months to be on there, right?
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, I would eventually inquire about it. I know Jim did it one time, and I always wanted to do it. I don't know too many people have done it, and I don't know what that whole process is like, or if anybody's done it or they've experienced it. But it's like, to try to get into this area, this Greater Toronto area, there's a huge wait list to get on there.
Are you talking about the people who would like to have a home built, or
no,
people to try to participate? Oh, there's a wait list of people. There's people who want to, but it's not. Oh, I understand. Baja Bound, go to Mexico. They've got lots of homes to build.
That's what I mean. It's like, I wonder where the, lack of a better word, gatekeeping happening with Habitat, where it's like, I'm sure there's thousands of workforce that want to be and share a day or two and work on a project and contribute their skills and their time. But I guess they only want so many bodies on there. They don't want it to turn into, I guess, a whole extreme makeover kind of thing or whatever. But I mean, because you're still
kind of have to if you're turning it around.
Yeah, that's
quickly.
what I'm figuring. Like,
it was ants where we were, and it was like, it was an extreme. Like, everybody was moving, so it's a little bit of chaos.
But everybody's aware of what needs to be accomplished.
Correct.
You're, like you said, everything was pre-planned regarding what you have to do.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, fine, then get over there. All it means is move your shoulder, move around,
that's
just
it.
Navigate the land there, and then just do the job.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know. I mean, it'd be good to have Habitat on the show and just try to figure out, how do we streamline this? How do we get more and more? Because I mean, you got a whole young generation here that's hungry to learn and want to contribute and give back. Why not get them to do that?
I have. I was talking with I have a contact near us, because we use Habitat for Humanity for if we pull products out of a home that is like usable.
Yeah, the reuse program.
I've
done that several times. Yeah.
So we just contacted Gail. Gail's the woman that we talked to, and we just schedule a time, and they come with a truck and they pick up whatever the thing. We got a big patio door that's in perfect shape. Just, we don't want it. We don't want it to go to a landfill. Yeah. So like, use it how it is. And from a business perspective, for anybody that doesn't know, you do get a tax receipt from it that you can use for your taxes, which is always a nice benefit in our world. So,
and it keeps your bins lighter.
Keeps your bins lighter.
Keeps your bins lighter, so your line item on demo is a lot less.
I hope so, yeah.
You know, a little bit of, I mean, like, it's like, I see these kitchens and the stones and everything, and they're just like being tossed out.
Flopped in.
And I'm like, the kitchen's going because people just don't like the trend of that kitchen.
That's it.
The kitchen's not really falling apart, and anything that's falling apart, you can fix it. Get a new hinge in there. Get whatever it is, but it's still used.
For our listeners too, is Habitat for Humanity. If you book it, on like your demoed scheduled day that the kitchen comes out, Habitat will actually bring a workforce and they'll disassemble your entire kitchen and take it out and remove it so that it remains in good shape. So it's not taken out rough and then you're giving them kind of a, rushed
you
demo.
Figure it out how to
you
fix
figure it
yeah,
out. They actually bring a force, which I'm pretty impressed with. They're willing to do that. And then they just bridge the gap. Whatever your tax credit that you're getting back. Yeah, of course they had to pay somebody. Most likely they had to pay somebody to come and do it. Maybe it's volunteer. That I'm not sure, but I would assume that it's an employee that comes because there's a level of safety when you're coming to a construction site and stuff. So it would be my assumption that it would be somebody on payroll.
There's a lot of it's kind of like when I hear about things like this, and I've also heard last year where I was told by a brand, even here in Canada, a lot of the indigenous lands, there's not much clean water, man.
No.
And it's like 2024. I learned about it in 2023. And I'm like, how do we have communities of indigenous people without clean water to drink, bathe, use? I don't even understand how that's not even, like, why is that a thing here? Like, there should be more done about it. But then it's unfortunate. You start having conversations with clients and like, $1 million builds plus, and you're heckling over this and that. And you're like going, you got communities there and here and all over the world. They don't even have anything. They've got dirt and bad water.
Yeah.
Right.
They got a 500-gallon pail that's up on a stand that gets filled when it's empty. And that's their source of water. Whatever happens to it, bugs could get in. And I mean, it's concealed, but stuff happens.
Yeah.
And that's it. It gets heated with the sun in this big plastic barrel. There's some pretty rough conditions that were just, I'm very appreciative. And I took a lot from that specific experience.
So you're going back.
I'm going to go back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go back. And this time I'm going to encourage others to join me on it. It was definitely partially selfish that I was like, I don't really want anybody to come with me. I want to do this whole thing because it adds to who I am. It adds to, a little bit of the adventure that I love traveling. So it's adds to that travel adventure. And like, my wife, I'm sure she's like, like, how can you just be by yourself? And like, do you just meet a bunch of people? And I'm like, if you knew the vibrations that go on a day-to-day basis, a little bit of quiet is nice.
Yeah, it's very, very nice.
A little bit of me time is nice.
I'm trying to figure out how we can start incorporating it into homes, like little quiet rooms, like sound dampening, just protective homes, just moments where you could probably just sit there and meditate and just clear your mind, right?
Just clear your mind.
It's kind of weird at first because I've been in those rooms where it's like literally you can't hear a single thing, right?
I've never done it, but I have heard that the quietest room in the world has like a very short maximum stay because people go...
Yep.
Like, so I haven't been into like a truly quiet room, which you're saying you did.
I don't know the terminology for that room, but these are the rooms that are taken when you want to start studying, I guess, engine noises or even sound, like specific things. Like you can actually isolate certain things. But yeah, you're right. I think it's minutes. You cannot stay long.
It's not long.
Yeah, it's very, very short because you just like you literally don't. We've created soundproof rooms, like we've created home theaters, and you start adding those materials.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about here. That's one thing, and you can still hear something, but this is an actual, true by definition, soundproof room where you do not even hear sound.
There's no sound.
Nothing.
It's so strange to hear, and yeah, when I still hear that, I'm like, yeah, I probably could stay there longer than that. But it's such a short period of time that it's almost shocking. Makes you think you could, but
it's good trying. I mean, it's a whole. Yeah, I agree with you about vibration and everything. It's like I think as you get older, you start realizing to be alone is sometimes good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And even though you're not ignoring the family, you're not ignoring the kids, or you're not ignoring your friends or something like that. It's just those pauses of alone time are really valuable.
You got to figure out who you are when there's no influence.
And I'm sure that you probably had them when you were building there. In your mind, it was probably quiet, but there was chaos.
Yeah. Well, that's how we operate.
Yeah, but it was controlled chaos. Yeah. Like you saw so much going on, and it's almost like it's really it's a weird trick to do it where you tone it out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You literally can just tone it all out, and then you almost pinpoint where you want to focus your energy, which is where your hearing is going to go at that point, right?
Without a doubt. Yeah, and you've nailed the description on that too. It's like in the midst of chaos, some way, shape, or form, the mind can not focus on the chaos. It can focus at the task at hand and like pinpoint. Yeah, you said that really well.
It's kind of interesting that every time I've experienced that, there's always greenery around me.
Really?
Something to do has to be connected with nature. I've never experienced it in a concrete jungle. I've tried being downtown and urban, or if I've traveled to Chicago or New York or Boston, I've tried, and you're in a concrete jungle and you're trying to tone out all that city that we're so used to hearing, and it can't, but it always works better in a green environment.
More Mother Nature.
I think it's important to do it that way.
Touch the bushes as you walk by, right? You got to connect. You got to ground.
That's how it is, man. Mike, I want to do the 12 questions with you because I don't know if it's been that far back that if you ever did it, but did we cover everything on the Baja thing? I think we did, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? And then we're going to post some stuff on the description so that way you...
so people that are interested and they want to inquire about 100%. It, then please, we encourage you to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And you never know. You might see our faces there or something like that.
I'd be happy to connect with anybody if they want further questions. I had other people volunteer their time when I had a list of questions. So you can let them know my email. They can directly email me. I'd be happy to pay it forward and answer questions if, some of your listeners wanted some additional information.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about your projects, man.
That's all right. Check out our Instagram. You'll be able to see
it on the Instagram, on IG, Building Dreams Contracting. Also his website, www.BuildingDreamsInc.ca. And his email is mike@BuildingDreamsInc.ca. What is your favorite construction word?
Oh, favorite construction word. Favorite construction word. It's got to be, unfortunately, it's a swear word.
That's fine.
Just because it's so commonly used.
The F word?
Yeah, the F word. Yeah, because I take people serious when they just say it straight, and not necessarily is the F word said towards me. Yeah. It's in conversation when it's passion, when it's like said passionately about something. Like, well, fuck, we're gonna get this done today, okay, boys? Girls. It's like, okay, yeah, like
we move. We
move. It's time to go.
Least favorite tool.
Oh, least favorite tool is the claw hammer because I don't want to have to use it.
Yeah, it's true.
It's so functional and it's a great tool.
But the purpose behind it.
It's the purpose behind the tool itself. Yeah.
What construction sound do you love?
Ooh, table saw, like wood going through a table saw. There's a tonality to it. I like
when
that.
It doesn't bind.
Or
when it starts to squeeze.
When it starts to squeeze, that's not the one you want to
Get a pencil down there.
Yeah.
Favorite beverage?
I'm a water guy.
Yeah,
I drink more water than most people. I'm over 4 liters a day probably. Wow. Like this is about 500 milliliters. I usually have like a bottle that's 500 milliliters, and as soon as that's empty, I'm looking to fill it up. I drink water all day from the moment I wake up to the morning. Right before I go to bed, I drink one.
Where do you like it? I'm similar. I'm still the sparkling water. I like sparkling water, but I'm trying to get more water going in. But the problem is that when I start having more people on the show about our water.
I know. I try. You know what? That is such a.
It's a big deal.
I'm so tossed up over it because then you got the make you feel good filters in your fridge that is just like
I do the rocks. I have the rocks. And then I have the copper. I have a copper jug of that.
And then do you have
then I let it sit overnight because something to do with the copper and it does something to the water. But I don't know if it cleans all the crap that's in our water.
I regularly think of that because I know how much water I drink, and I'm
I talk to the filter guys.
Mildly concerned that I'm probably getting more fluoride and some of these other things that they say could be in the water. Like maybe my estrogen levels are off.
What's funny is like it's hard to hear the younger people when you go out or order something. They're like, I have an iced tea, I'll have a pop, I have a Coke, I have a Pepsi, I'll have all this other stuff, and you're like, I don't even touch any of that stuff.
I'm not interested in it. Like, yeah,
I'll have a beer occasionally, a Guinness, occasionally, red wine occasionally, spirits. Very rare.
Right.
I think the last spirit I had was on the show with Mikey DiMartino where we had the banana rum because he brought the bottle. And I was like, yeah, it tastes like banana, which is great.
Great. Thanks for the banana.
What turns you on and off in construction?
Ooh, what turns me on in construction is when design to flowers on the table, that process is what you planned it to be. That makes me really excited when I see that the plan is actually working out. The flowers on the table at the end is just that every single time I reveal. I think the reveal is so important to me that I get super bothered when. Okay, so this is actually answering both your questions. So the reveal is my favorite thing about it is showcasing the work that we just spent, the investment and the love and care that we took to the trim in your kitchen, to the trim inside your closet. Yeah. It's like all of the components that we put together and we put together this team to do, and we want to reveal it. What burns my bridges is when the homeowner's like, yeah, do you mind if I get all my deliveries a week before that happens? And my living room is just stacked with stuff. And you're like, not really. I don't really want that.
Last week is so critical on finishing things.
And it's like, so I got excited earlier in our conversation where it's like framing. Everybody's like, oh, it's already framed. So we're like a couple weeks out, right? And you're like, hold your horses. And then like drywall. Oh, drywall went up. It's all closed. We're super close, right? And you're like, can you just give me the time to finish your project correctly? So it's the impatience that comes when they're tired of living at their in-laws or at an Airbnb or staying or whatever. So they get impatient because they see how close they are. That burns my bridges a little bit, where I'm like, please, like I can't even get pictures of this because you've just put stuff everywhere. Like I can't showcase that we've even done.
I think drywall companies should start printing on the face of all the drywall sheets, we are not as close as you think we are.
So
everywhere you go through the whole house, it's just tape, butt joints and everything. And then every so often nail heads are covering it, but we are not as close as you think we are.
Yeah. How lovely would that be? Because we always see that. They get excited.
They totally think we're
please be excited.
Next week we can start
You've
moving
still got
in.
a couple, you can still got some time. So that answers both those.
Favorite curse word? We going back to the F word?
Yeah. I'll go back to that. You know what? I try. So like I would say that I'm very conscious of my use of it, and I try to respect that some people don't enjoy it. So I really try to watch what my language is. But yeah,
I got a knack for when there's kids around, I shut it off.
That's it.
It's as simple as that, right? Like frig shows up, or you'll like, gosh.
Yeah, but my 8-year-old says frig, and I'm like, no swear words. And he's like, it's not a swear word. I was like, I know how you're using it. Yes, that's a swear word.
As long as you're not shutting the front door. That's all right. Favorite vehicle, any mode of transportation?
Any mode?
Any mode.
So I've got, again, on my list of vehicles, like an R8, like an Audi R8 has always been something that I've been a big fan of. I like fine tuning, and the Audi R8 is a great combination I've always found of power, supercar, but then you get into it and it's actually still got like Audi luxury, where some supercars
you can drive it year round.
You could drive it year round.
So
I've always really liked that, but very close price point is actually the Lamborghini Huracan of similar years. Beautiful car, great engineering. I love how low it sits. I love the sight lines on the car. So those are two. At the end of the day, I still really love the functionality of a pickup truck. That's never gonna go anywhere. So it's like supercars. Those would be my two. But a pickup truck, I've just owned one for so long that I'm like, throw it in the back. We're going.
It's so convenient.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you get into a supercar, you're like, there's no back.
I have troubles getting out of them. That's what I've realized. I have a few friends that have done really well, and they've got some, and I like, getting in and out, I'm like, that is where it shows your age. When you're trying to get in a low vehicle, you're like, jeepers.
I had Gary Mares. I was like, let's just carpool. I'll drive. And he's so used to driving a Sprinter van. And then he gets into my car, which is just a 2-door coupe. And he was like having a hard time getting in and out of it. And I was like, dude, I'm so used to it now, man. Like, I know how low it is. It's weird when you're driving up high and then get into that.
Absolutely.
I'm so used to it. But what do you miss from your childhood?
Oh, what do I miss from my childhood? I would say the freedom to leave the house. When I think of my childhood, I think of what I now experience. My kids' childhood is like, I come with too much knowledge and paranoia. So like, I think about my kids when they go 2 blocks away from the house, whereas growing up, the freedom to leave the house, my parents didn't know when I was coming home. They really didn't. They didn't even know where I was. I would go from
come back.
East side. He's going to be back sometime, I think.
He's going to be hungry.
How does he even know how to tell the time?
Yeah.
Like to be home at a certain time. So that freedom to just to go and
kids don't have it
carefree. No, because you got an AirTag in their shoe, or you've got AirPods that you're tracking, or don't go far, please come back. Like it's because we have too much knowledge of the unfortunate things that happen in our world that make us that paranoid. So the freedom of leaving the house with no concern is something I miss.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt one day?
Other than my own that I'd like to attempt, probably something in the health and wellness. Yeah. Something in the health and I care about physical and mental health a lot. and more in my later years. I'm almost 40. I know that's later years. But I care a lot about high performance. So something is, I don't know how that would look, whether it would be like, leadership coach or physical. I don't think I would do like personal training. It's not my thing. Although I do train 5 of my friends now. It's not like it's not a job. I enjoy it for what we do, but that's about it. I think it would be something in like helping others in a mental, physical way.
I know that when I was younger in my 20s, I always thought 60 was old.
Oh my God.
Now that I'm 52.
Oh, you are super old.
Like, no, I don't think that. Now that I'm at 52, I actually think that there's a good chance that whether you're a tradesperson or not and you've beaten up your body, you could live to 90, 100.
Healthy.
Right?
Yeah.
You could. But it's just you start hearing about a lot of people that are still passing on 60s and 70s, maybe 80s. And I know what the meme is right now with male and female and Canadians. But it's just like, I think we have we can. I honestly think that we can, and I want to.
Yeah.
I've joked several times with friends, like, I know exactly the day that I want to go, 100 years after the day I came. That's what I would ideally like to do, right? So, but I want to be healthy about it.
You want to be a centurion, do you?
Yeah, I would totally want Blue Zone and all that stuff.
Blue Zone.
I read all that stuff, and I'm paying attention to all that stuff, and I'm like going, yeah, there is, and I've changed my eating habits. That's why I brought up the water thing, and like you're just conscious of all this other stuff. You try to reduce the sweets, and I'm like, listen, I'm not diehard where it's like no alcohol. We've seen these guys talk about alcohol is just killing your brain cells, and killing your age, and killing all this other stuff. I have to have some alcohol.
There has to be a little level of joy. If you find joy in every once in a while having a good night out, enjoying a glass of wine, don't be miserable in the process of trying to reach 90 years old. That's just silly. That's chaos.
And I'll never preach it. I'll just, if you ask my opinion, I've had lots of people reach out to me going, these cold showers you take every morning, man. What's the deal?
I'm a cold bath.
It's really simple. You just crank the lever all the way to the other side, and you just tell yourself, take the pain, and you go in there and you take the pain, and then it goes away after about a minute.
Yeah.
And
do you do the cold baths?
I do the cold baths occasionally. Yeah. I do the cleansing, the fasting. I do that.
We just did a 72-hour water fast a couple weeks ago.
I've done the 7 days every year.
You've done 7 days?
I've done it for the last 7 years. I've done it.
7 days water fast.
I've done 1 year. 1 year I did it 3 times. There was 3 weeks of that year I didn't eat a single thing. I just do water.
That would be a challenge. I was starting to get itchy.
Yeah, I was
really looking forward to when I can eat.
But the once a year, it's really good. The 72 is great. It just changes your body.
Yeah, that's what they say. Some of the biological things that are within and how it processes. And like I noticed my stomach, so I lost about 7-ish pounds over the 3 days. And, there's obviously contributing factors to that. And I didn't necessarily need to lose the pounds, but I'm sure there were some good pounds that were lost.
But it's also a lot of the detoxing, like they're just getting rid of stuff that's in your body. Plus it makes you mentally aware of what you want to put back into your body when you start back up again.
Did you, not that we were going to go off on a tangent, but did you not notice how much time you got back when you didn't have to do anything
100%.
food related? I was like,
100%.
I'm going to go grab a...
Yeah. It's about wasting
I'm just
time.
Gonna
it's
do
like
more.
I'm bored and I just want to nibble on something.
I'm bored and I want a little bit of a break from this thing, and food seems to be the thing that I can use as an escape.
Yeah.
And I found myself like, okay, I'm just going to go outside and get a quick little stretch. And I'm just going to I got more work done. I was more focused, sharper. So yeah, not that.
I also find that you don't have food sitting in the fridge that long because the food that you have in there is going to get consumed. Yeah. You plan your consumption.
Yep.
That's how I find it, right? But what profession would you not like to do?
I would say any profession that it's hard because people do that job, and I'm about to, it's necessary that we have, doctors and people that have to be somewhere at that every day. They have to be somewhere. Sometimes it's 7 days a week, or they're on call, or they live in residency, or like any job that it's like that I'm going to feel like very caged in, and I don't have a level of freedom or creativity. If I can't be creative, if I don't have a level of freedom to make my own schedule and somewhat come and go as I please, I'm going to be miserable.
Yeah.
Going to be absolutely miserable.
I think anybody in any career could be creative.
Yeah. Like I still laugh that since 25, I've participated, and I think I'm on like approximately my 9th business since 25. So about 15 years, I've been in a lot of different things, construction always being the one that was the core. But I always think, I was like, I left the 9 to 5 to do the 24/7, but it's on my schedule and it makes me happy. I'm cool putting the kids to bed and doing the thing that was like, hey, I got to get this proposal out. I'm good with that because I got to make that choice, because maybe I came in a little later because I drove my kids to school. So like, it's that give and take. So for me, I don't want a box. Anything.
I don't think you're leaving the 9 to 5. I think you're finding the happiness. Whether that happiness is 24 hours a day, it's up to you. Maybe you were happy outside of those 8 hours, 9 to 5. Yeah. So all you're doing is you're looking for the happiness 24/7.
I needed a purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was 30, I found that that when I was 30, things were going exceptionally in my favor. Making money, didn't really have a lot of requirement of being somewhere with a couple of the investments and businesses I was a part of. From 30 to 31, I never had more panic attacks in my life that I never had prior to that. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. I had all the health and everything. Yeah. And then I told my wife, I go, I think I got to get a hammer in my hand. I got to build. I called a couple people, got contacts, went back into it. And then like 2-3 months in, I was like, okay, I'm doing a business, starting a business. And I never had a panic attack since never then. Had an anxiety. It was this period where I had theoretically no purpose, no drive necessarily. Nobody needed me. And I was like, I need somebody to need me. I need to be doing something. As soon as I went back to my roots of construction, I knew how I wanted to do it, how I was going to look. And I never had one again. It just went away, disappeared, because I had purpose.
Last question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at those pearly gates?
Just open arms. Big welcome. Big welcome. Give me a big hug.
That's it.
You burly bear. All right? Get over here.
Mike, pleasure to see you again, man. I love what you're doing. I love the jobs, and I encourage anybody to come and check them out, or even reach out to you and just, if you're in the hood, whatever. I got to make my way out west because there's been a lot. Dan, Aaron, Mark, everybody. There's like a lot of great stuff going on in the Hamilton area, right? Yep. So a lot of good building going on.
We'd be happy to show you.
Yeah, no, totally, man. I respect what you're doing. And then this was also a fun conversation to talk about that whole Baja Bound. And I think more and more people need to do it as well, or at least experience it. Just try it out.
Yeah, go outside your comfort zone.
I don't think you'll regret it.
No.
I don't think so. I think you'll come back a different person.
I agree.
I'm assuming, because I want to do it one day as well, too. So
I'll let you know when we schedule it next year.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much, Mike.
Thanks, Manny.
That's it. We're out of here.